The Strange History of Daniel Mortimer. How it all began.
A cautionary note to the reader. I have known Daniel Mortimer from the days we were both pupils at St. Hugh's College near Glastonbury. We went up to Oxford together, he to read English, I to study history and laws. He always struck me as an oddball, even as a boy, and I understand that he underwent a course of psychiatric treatment during his Oxford days. It was, however, only on meeting him after his trip to America in the autumn of 1975 that I seriously entertained misgivings about the state of his mental health. Shortly before his disappearance a few months ago, he committed certain papers to my trust. Among them the following account of his experiences in America. I gather that it was his intention to return to the United States, there to renounce the fleeting pleasures of this world and join a Mennonite settlement in Pennsylvania. My feeling is that only a woman could induce a man to do such a thing, but far be it from me to inflict my prejudices on others. Nor do I feel called upon to expatiate on the text I append, a text that might well appeal to a certain readership at a time when the surreal, the mythical, and the fantastic are so very much in. On one reading, this story reveals the workings of a mind in a most pitiably distraught state. Alternatively, the writer, fearful of the harsh censure of literary criticism, elected to give his tale the semblance of a personal documentation. I myself find the whole matter somewhat disquieting, the more so for having tried to suppress the urge to see it brought to the attention of a wider public. As a historian and lawyer, I do feel bound to mention one point at least. The writer, inclined, as ever, to mystify what a little research could have cleared up very easily, ponders at one point why the Liberty Bell was forged before rather than after the popular cry for America's political independence. He refers to the biblical text to which the bell owes its name, namely Leviticus chapter 25, verse 10. Declare liberty throughout the land. If he had gone to the trouble of doing his homework a little more diligently, he would have recognized that this reference to liberty was not politically tendentious to begin with. The bell simply commemorated the granting of a royal charter to the people of Pennsylvania in 1701, 50 years before. A parallel can be drawn between this anniversary and the 50-year jubilee of biblical times. At least we historians must keep our feet firmly on the ground when those with literary pretensions ventilate their fertile imaginations with little regard to the objective truth and its doubtless uncomfortably exacting demands. Algernon Catchpole, Oxford, 1986. Here we begin the strange history of Daniel Mortimer. He rode forth conquering and to conquer a lord of time, of this realm emperor. His steed so pale, sure deadly was his dart, and strong the hand that held his iron rod. Within the walls of that dark tower mewed up, his captives cry for freedom and for light, and one who quaffed too deeply his red wine must ride a nightmare to the ocean's bed. I begin my story with no illusions, for I am fully aware that no one is likely to believe one word of it. Yet I am left with no alternative to writing it down other than that of going mad. I have little doubt that any one of my readers who follows my account to the last page, to whom I may well have to pay a heavy debt on the fearful day of judgment for having robbed that person of his or her most valuable time, will conclude in any case that I am already in that most pitiable and lamentable of conditions, that is madness by name. I arrived at Logan International Airport, Boston, at a very unseasonable time, in the late afternoon of October the 31st. My trip to America was, it seemed, the result of a coincidence of events in no way related to each other. I had just come into some money, hardly a fortune, though it seemed to be such, when I was thereby liberated from my student's penury. My impecunious state was relieved by the sad passing of Aunt Liza. As the reading of her last will and testament revealed, she must have looked on me with no small measure of affection during her final years. I was, to use a hackneyed phrase, footloose and fancy-free, having just obtained a degree in English, German subsidiary, at Oxford. It was my aim to engage in academic research, taking the works of Edgar Allan Poe or those of Emily Dickinson as my dissertation theme. It so happened that some American friends wrote suggesting that I should come and stay with them at their home near Boston. This was an opportunity I could not turn down. Boston was Edgar Allan Poe's town of birth, after all. I could do some biographical fieldwork on him, and possibly on Emily Dickinson too. Last but not least, I could see something of America.